Unidentified EVA crew near Bay 7. Confirm you are not debris.
Confirm, Seraphim. MISC 25 Heavy. That's certified cargo, with opinions.
Copy. Please ensure it keeps those opinions under 30 meters per second.
Grid alignment looks clean. No drift, no spin.
Reminder to all pilots, EVA operations are not a race. Regardless of how confident you feel, you're officially less embarrassing than the last group.
Yeah, that's high praise around here.
Locked. Final unit secured.
Starlancer, you are clear to depart, and thank you for not becoming a teaching moment.
Anytime, Seraphim. MISC 25 Heavy out. Nice work.
I'll take it. Wonder what happened to the last group.
Last I heard, they're still waiting on a body marker.
Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today on 10 Minutes More or Less Ship Review, right behind me, the MISC STARLANCER Max. Let's go ahead and take a look. Welcome back to another review. Today, the STARLANCER Max, we're taking a fresh look for 4.5 and beyond. This ship, a dedicated cargo hauler that can do so much more. I will say, if you're comparing this to a lot of other ships in this price range, even including the last one I just reviewed on a pledge price and an in-game price, this is cheaper and does a lot more for you than something like a 400i, which is crazy. But obviously, you're like, well, 400i isn't a dedicated cargo hauler. But anyways, taking a look at this ship here, the STARLANCER Max. It is $250 if you're to buy it on the pledge store, or if you buy it in game, it's 8,820,000 aUEC. Now, it does have a 12-minute and 19-second claim time, but you can bring that down to 3 minutes and 4 seconds if you're to go ahead and expedite that. If you're taking a look at this ship, you have a lot of questions of what can it do for you in the Versus Star Citizen, and honestly, this thing can do a number of things, from carrying a medical Ursa and allowing you to make it a daily runner to bunkers and many other mission objectives, to also just running about doing cargo or bounty missions, or putting a full crew on this thing and just having a fantastic time out there. And I will say it's even better with engineering, because there's even more health to this ship that previously it did not have, of course, because armor adds a whole nother element out there into the verse for your ship. Now, for the pilot, you do have a total of 4,102 burst pilot damage per second, allowing you to go out there and do a massive amount of damage due to your 4 size 4 M6A laser cannons, which have a 960 meter second round speed, which honestly, not so good. It's better to be aiming at about 1,200 or higher if you want a good experience trying to attack the pip when you are attacking a ship. So something you could consider getting rid of for something more powerful. Now, you also have 16 size 3 Thunderbolt 3 missiles on this ship, and those are electromagnetic, so no problem there with the EM missiles. I think they're a great amount, and you have 16 of them, which is just phenomenal. Now, the 2 turrets on the ship are remote controlled by the front of the ship on the seats left and right of the bridge, which I'll show you here in a moment, but you do have a total of 3,272 burst damage per second due to the 4 size 4 CF447 Rhinos with an 1,800 meter a second round speed, which is fantastic. That is just a good amount of round speed, allowing your turret gunners to do whatever they can to help protect the ship. Now, sadly, both those turrets are right on the top, and one of them doesn't have too much of a forward firing angle, so you got to keep rolling this ship. You got to roll as much as you can to try to stay alive, because if anybody gets underneath you or behind you and underneath you, it becomes more of a problem, right? Because those gunners can't hit that target, and then you can't hit that target, so something to always make sure to keep this ship rolling. Keep it rolling, keep it rolling. Keep those turret gunners on target as much as possible. Now, if we're looking at the defensive nature of this ship, it does have a total of 45,000 quadrant shield, which is a good amount of shield, and we'll talk about the components directly once we're actually in the component room, but those shields do quite a bit to protect against laser weapons with an 8.3% physical resistance and an 81.6% distortion resistance. But the stock shield, of course, is just that. It's a stock shield only sitting at 45,000. So we will talk about what I recommend to upgrade those to here in just a moment. And then you do have 21,000 armor now on this ship with a minus 15% physical damage and a plus 30% energy damage bonus to it. So that means energy damage, of course, is going to do more damage to the shield and to the armor, while physical damage like a ballistic repeater or Gatling gun or cannon isn't going to do as much damage to armor, and it's going to be harder for that physical weapon to penetrate through and do damage to the components or the rest of the ship until that armor is out of the way. Now, looking at its health pool, it does have 84,200 ship HP, which has been pretty much the same for a very long time, but that HP is not too bad. It's spread apart a little bit on this ship, but it can take a beating still. With a penetration physical damage reduction of 30%, penetration energy damage reduction of 50%, and a penetration fuse damage reduction of 30%, and a penetration component damage of 30%. So stats are pretty average across the board on that regard. And then if you're looking at the ship speed, it does have a total SCM of 160 with a 325 forward boost, a 165 backwards boost, and a top nav speed of 990. Now, it did get a speed increase over the past 8 months, which is fantastic, because before it was like 120 SCM, and that was just so slow. Nobody enjoyed that. But 160, it's still not fast by any means when you're in SCM mode, but at least it's a little bit better. Hopefully we can see even faster someday, but who can tell, right? And then you have a pitch yaw roll of 31, 31, 65 with a boosted 37, 37, 78. And it's a big ship, but it, 31, 31, 65, it's not a great maneuverability, but for how big the ship, how chonky it is, what it can do, what it can carry from a multitude of vehicles, including flying vehicles like a Razor and other things that you can put in the back cargo area. This is quite a ship for that maneuverability, and its speed, of course, is a little slow, but the maneuverability side, not too bad for what it can do. And then you have a total of 100 flares and 60 decoys, which is pretty good, allowing you to hopefully stay alive through any missile attack that you encounter. Always hit right Alt-H on your keyboard and put those, with this size of ship, I'd probably set it to about a 6 to 8 flare launch at a time, hopefully avoiding any missiles that are thrown your way. Now, you do have 50 SCU of hydrogen fuel and 3.6 SCU of quantum fuel, which means you're going to be exploring the verse without having to refuel nearly as much. 3.6 SCU of quantum fuel, even with a really amazing quantum drive, you're going to be out there probably making quite a few jumps before you ever have to go ahead and refuel, which is obviously a fantastic thing. So now let's go ahead and take a look at this ship in the first person. I do want to tell you there are some graphical issues with this ship right off the bat. the first thing you're going to notice is right under the nose as well on top of the ship, there's some random floating objects that shouldn't be there, and I don't even know what that is. Maybe it's part of the hydraulics or something, but they're like the hydraulics for the missile launcher or something, because they are kind of near these missile bays, which is really weird on the top and bottom of the ship, and that is something you'll notice. Now, this ship does have multiple areas of access from the ground, but the main one is the back ramp and the side elevator entrance, and then you have the cargo bay that you can enter from. I'm going to show you each one of these buttons. If you run across to this side, this is another area that tends to have a graphical issue where this door stays shut, and it happens quite often. But this is the elevator that would take you up to floor 1 or floor 2, which is where the bridge is. But we're going to go ahead and make our way to the next area. This is the cargo bay right here. It does a nice drop-down effect, and if you've seen the sneak peek to the Apollo Hermes, the Hermes is going to have something very similar to this. Looking at the sneak peek of that ship, you can see that the medical rooms were removed, and you can see the cargo floor, and where you're going to have this nice walkway like this here in the Starlancer is just going to be like that in the Hermes, and I cannot wait. It's going to be a pretty cool looking ship. And but taking a look here at the Max, I just love this. The design is fantastic. You got to be careful sometimes when you're loading cargo in here. If you are standing at certain areas, like right here, it can actually push you under the ground, and you'll fall through the map. So that is something to be always cautious with, right? But when you're loading cargo, it is a lot of fun. I mean, it's got two sides here. Of course, I wish sometimes that these little walls weren't in here, because we don't really need these when we're down here, right? I mean, there's no reason for this. So I wish we could maybe not store cargo on that, because it would interfere with the walkover, right? But I wish there was a way that we could just, throw cargo in between without having to go up and over. But it's still not bad. It's a really nice room, allowing you to store plenty of things, including ATLSs, all along the side of this if you wanted to. And then you have the back cargo area, and then you have a multitude of ground vehicles that you can fit right up the middle, because your cargo sits here behind the striped line on that grid platform there, and then you have this nice area to fit a Nursa, a Rock, and yes, I've carried both at the same time, or many other things, including hover bikes and aircraft like Razor. You could definitely do that. It's a little bit of a tight fit, and depending on where you're landed, hopefully load it in space, you can absolutely load another smaller craft in here, and it's a lot of fun. When you're back here in this cargo room, this is floor 1 on this ship. So I'm going to go ahead and shut that door. You do have these nice windows on each side. That's pretty cool. And it's like really thick too. So no worries of this room being EVA'd, right? Being evac'd of its air anytime soon, hopefully. And then if you take a look, you have an elevator here and an elevator over here. This leads you straight up to the residence area of the ship, where the crew will be staying, as well as the engineering area of the ship, where all your components will be housed. But first, we're going to walk through here. This is, again, the cargo room. So if you want to go ahead and close that up, hit the button on the side there, and you can watch as the cargo platform makes its way up and it closes around it, and you can walk along this. This is pretty cool. I love this design. It looks fantastic. There's just so much detail in here, and I think this is just a super cool function of this ship. Obviously, some people wish this was just one big floor, kind of like a C-130, and you could just load things straight up on through from the back ramp without a wall right there, and I think that would be uber cool too. But obviously, the way they did this is just cool in its own way, and I think I really enjoy this. I really do. Now, if I make our way through the next area, this is the main elevator, the one we saw on the ground outside, and then if you turn around, you do have an EVA access point where someday we might be able to dock this to a station or to another ship. But you go ahead and hit that button, it opens up, and it looks pretty nice. You can go ahead and take a look out the door, EVA out, maybe go salvage some stuff out there, take some loot, go ahead and I've been watching the Firefly series, and something like this just excites me when I see it, because I see that, I want to open that door, and I want to go explore a destroyed wreck somewhere and have a great time, right? So now if I make my way up the little stair right here, you have a weapons locker and armory area. So this is where your crew will get ready for their adventures outside of the ship, but you do have 4 suit locker areas, and then you have a weapons locker area that can fit a total of 4 rifles and 6 handguns. No specialty weapons, anything of the sort, which is too bad, but honestly, just keep it on your back anyways, probably better and safe. And then you have the suit lockers that, of course, you can access them, but you can't use them yet. Someday, hopefully, we'll get to use these, and hopefully sometime this year. That would be fantastic. Nice little bench seat right here. You can go ahead and sit down and, get your shoes on and everything. Now, you also have an emergency ladder if the elevators aren't working, which is a, neat little thing to take sometimes when you're not really waiting for that elevator come on up. So we'll make our way up to the second floor, and the first area we'll check out is the cockpit area. So we'll make our way through this door here, and these are your escape pods. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and thankfully they're not in the cargo hold of the ship. Unlike certain other ones, these are right by the bridge, which is beautiful. So I cannot wait to see these things work here in the future. Hopefully we'll have that again this year. And then you make your way to the bridge, and you have a lot of, the entirety of this ship when it comes to your crew, right? You have your gunner seats, one here and one over here. And as you can see, these blast doors are down currently. So the blast doors are protecting the gunners, but we can't move them up. They're bugged in 4.5, so the buttons do not work, not allowing us to actually put the blast windows up. And so the gunners won't ever get to see outside. It's kind of a sad story, but they don't work currently, and it's really just too bad. But the seats do, and the remote turrets do, so at least not all functionality is gone, right? And then over here you do have the radar relay area. So this is where your radar sits, as well as another relay area of the ship. Go ahead and close that up. On the other side is going to be a computer system area. So when we do get flight blades or anything for this ship, it's probably going to sit here, and that is probably where they're going to be accessible. And of course, a fire extinguisher. Now, this is the pilot and the co-pilot area. The co-pilot really doesn't have much to do on the ship other than managing systems, but the pilot does fly the boat and does have a great time doing so. And I'd say the access through the windshield, before we take a look at the rest of the ship, we'll sit down really quick. This is a MISC ship, right? So you have the mailbox slot view, and when you look around, it is just what it is. It's the MISC view. Sometimes I wish a ship like this would have the view of a prospector, because that's also a MISC ship, but it doesn't. It just has the mailbox slot view, and you know that it's a MISC when you have something like this. And it just, I think it looks great, but the dashboard, of course, is massive. You can literally lay up there, and you could put a whole decoration set up there, like a nice little Christmas village or Luminalia village, and it would look quite fantastic, honestly. While you're flying around. I still think we need a rug accessory, though. We do need something up there to protect that from sun damage, but maybe we'll get that someday. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the ship. We'll make our way through this door, and of course you got your escape pods once again, and then you make your way through this door. You got your elevator, you got your ladder, you got a little bit more components, the life support and gravity generator right on over here. Obviously gravity generator is not being represented yet, but it will be sooner or later. And then if you make your way through this door, this is the crew area where they can go ahead and take care of some things. You have to the left a nice seating area to sit down and eat, drink, take care, and you have a nice pool table, which can be quite the explosive amount of fun, but the ship does not come with any pool balls or accessories, so you have to find a store that sells them, which currently none of them do. But this is where you'd go ahead and play some pool. It is a pretty nice area, and on the wall over here you even have a nice area to put the the pool cues and everything once you're ready and done. But we don't have any access to that yet. I really wish we did, because it would be cool. I mean, little gameplay functions like that would just add such an element to this verse that is growing every single day. And you have another fire extinguisher. And then if you make your way through to the kitchen area, it's just a nice, decent MISC kitchen, right? It looks very factory, and it looks very ready to go for making your food, storing your drink, taking care of the crew, and having that 3-minute ready-to-eat pizza made straight out of some sort of machine over here. We don't have pizza yet. It's not here yet, but someday we'll have that, and this might be a great place to enjoy it. Now, if you make your way through the next door, you do have a left and right option. They both lead to somewhat of a mirrored area, but there's something interesting in these rooms, right? There's 2 rooms that are more just for the turret gunners, so they're just like this. You have a nice seating area, nice little area for like a mini fridge, take care of your drinks. You do have storage right above. You can go ahead and take a look at that. Comes with 1500 micro SCU, which is fantastic. Plenty of storage there. And then you have a nice bed. It's a double bed. So if you're out here on the long journey, maybe you could bring your spouse with you. But it's a nice sized bed here. You can go ahead and lay down, enjoy the flight on your MISC ship during the cargo run. And then you have a nice bathroom with a shower and toilet area right here. And each crew member does get their own individual bathroom, which is fantastic. And of course, a nice little mirror, a sink. This is just a good looking area. And with Vulcan Renderer, it actually renders the helmet and everything now, and it looks fantastic, which I think is kind of funny, because watch this. It kind of shows you what it looks like when you pull out a gun, and then you right click, look at my head. Thank you, Cypher, for pointing that out. Which fantastic, fantastic. Now we'll go ahead and make our way to more of the crew rooms. That is a regular crew room. Even though it says Hab 1, you think that would be the captain's crew room. It's definitely not. And that's your elevator right there. It leads down to the cargo floor. And then if you go to Hab 3, this is the extended crew room where I feel like the captain and the co-pilot would be at, because you have a nice area for even more stuff right off the beginning of the room. And then you have a nice seating area with a desk, of course, and then your storage, your mini fridge, your bed, and your bathroom once again, which is really nice. But 2 out of the 4 rooms look like this, with the extended area in the front, and the other 2 rooms do not look like this, which is quite entertaining. It's quite entertaining. You have to choose that the pilot and the co-pilot get the extended rooms, right? But it just depends, I guess. Maybe you guys can play rock, paper, scissors before you leave for your trip. But that is the 2 rooms here. And then the other room is, of course, like on that side, over here on this side with this elevator here. Now, if you make your way to the last room, this is the engineering room where you're going to take care of everything on this ship. And it does look fantastic. The detail in here is phenomenal. So we'll take a look at the first area, which is where the batteries will sit someday, sooner or later, once we have that in game. Right here is where they'll go. And then over here, you do have the power plants, which you do have 2 of them. And what comes on it is the Lux Core Competition Grade A power plants with a 20 max power generation each. Now, it's not a terrible power plant, but it's definitely not the best that you can get out there, right? This power plant does come with a distortion shutdown damage of 3,150, which means a Scorpius and Terry's can take you down in 1 EMP blast if they're close enough. So you have to be very careful and get rid of that competition grade A power plant immediately, right? And then the reboot time on that is 18 seconds. So it's not a terrible reboot time, but 18 seconds is 18 seconds of damage you do not want to be taking. And then you do have 380 component health on these. And the self-repaired thing does not matter, because if they're physicalized like this, you'll be having to repair it yourself as the engineer. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the next component, which is right behind us, and these are the coolers. So let's take a look at these coolers really quick. These right here are the 2 Absolute Zero Competition Grade B coolers, and these coolers, of course, are size 2. They do have a max cooling of 46 cooling generation each, with a power consumption of 3, distortion shutdown of 1800, which honestly, the last thing you're to worry about is your coolers shutting down in the middle of a fight. Even though it's not going to be good for you in a multi-crew ship, you're probably going to experience a fire or something. But they do have a component health of 210, and then again, no self-repair time, because even though technically they do, they're physicalized. So get back here and fix them as soon as you can when you're out here getting attacked. And those coolers, of course, I would get rid of as soon as possible, which I'll give you my recommendations here in just a moment. Now, taking a look at the shield generator, right in front of me here is the size 3 shield generator, the Stronghold Industrial Grade C shield generator, which outputs that 45,000 HP with a 3,848 max regen HP a second, with a damage regen delay of 6.5 seconds and a down regen delay of 12.1 seconds. Now, this component does have 1,400 HP, and again, physicalized. So get back here and repair it if it goes down. Now, last thing to take a look at is the quantum drive and the jump drive, which is back here on this back door wall over here. This one over here is the Sparkfire Competition Grade C with a 171,000 kilometers second max speed. Not so great. Definitely worth getting out of here and getting a new one in. And then the Excelsior, of course, jump drive right on top of it, which make sure when you're in the vehicle manager to remove that, save, and then remove your jump drive, and then replace it, and then add the quantum drive, and then add the jump drive back on top after the fact. So that is where that sits, and it looks fantastic. Now, my recommendation for all these components, almost forgot. This is your engineering terminal. It's right against one of the big engines right here. Looks pretty good. So you hop on here. You can go ahead and see everything on your ship. You know, you got all your doors, your systems, your rooms, your connections. I like to start with the doors, kind of see what we got. You can even force some doors open and lock them open. You can control all your doors from right here. It looks fantastic. And then if you go to your systems, you have all these little system areas. I wish the armor didn't give me a percentage, but an actual number amount. So if we have 21,000 armor on this ship, I should see right now that we have 20,083 left, right? Because we're at 99%. Hull damage, same thing. I know we're not supposed to be having numbers anymore, but I want to see numbers, not percentages, if we're going to have any of these things, right? And it's just not a physical representation yet. So that is something I'd like to see in the future. And then, of course, you got your room control, so you can take a look at all your rooms, the atmosphere, the temperature, all that kind of stuff. And that's really cool. I do like the engineering terminal in these ships. They are fantastic, and it's a good time. It's always a fun time playing the engineering role. As long as you're not stuck in this room the whole time, you can run about the ship, get on a turret, and then when you have trouble, come back here and take care of it, right? But now let's take a look at the recommendations for this ship. And honestly, any recommendation is something that's just an opinion, right? But you can go the route of an FR86 for your shield generator, which gives you 66,000 HP, but it's a very hard shield generator to find, right? So it's going to be a very costly shield generator. So if you want to go to the route of finding something that's easier to find and still does a good amount of shield generation compared to the stock, you'd go with the 7CA Nargun Civilian A shield generator with the 62,500 pool, and that one's not bad. It has a 1,500 component health, and it will do the job. It really will do the job in place of something that's much harder to find that you have to find out in the verse. And then for power plants, of course, again, you could go with the JS400, but it's more difficult to find. You will be spending a lot of money on it, but if you want to go the route of finding something that's not as impossible to find, still has a better distortion shutdown damage ratio compared to the stock one, go with the Genoa Industrial Grade A. 20 max power generation, your distortion goes way up, so no worry about a ship disabling you in one EMP blast. You have 840 component health. It's not a bad power system by any means. You put those on there, you're good to go. For your coolers, I always recommend just dropping this down as far as you can to something like a stealth grade B or C, like the icebox or heat sink, because then it drops the power, max from 3 to 2. Or from 4 to 2, right? So the absolute 0 requires 3 power. The icebox or the heatsink requires 2, which means you're getting 2 power back overall if you replace both of them, which can be used for your weapons or other systems, and that's definitely a good thing to have. Now, if you're taking a look at your quantum drive, it's just any grade out there with a good jump that doesn't require you to hand over every dime and dollar that you have. Like the XL1 is a fantastic drive, and if there's a way to get a hand on it, just do it. It's just gonna, take a lot more fuel out of your system over time. Or you can go with the Huracan or the Hemera or the Bolin or the Altair. Any of one of those are fantastic. Much faster drive than the stock one on this ship, and it doesn't cost you a pretty penny to do it. Now, this ship can do a number of things out there in the verse, from PvE bounties, and it can do it really well, as it does have a fantastic amount of damage output. And with the fact that you can have turret gunners on here that elevate that turret damage greatly, you can do PvE all day long. PvE bounties, you can do bunkers, you can do all sorts of things with this ship, from transport, cargo, bringing out vehicles, setting up areas around Hathor. You can do it with this ship. It has the health pool, it has the shield and armor, but you just have to always remember that the true gameplay of the ship is a cargo hauler, and a cargo hauler with a bite. By the way, did you know in this room here, you do have 2 windows? If you look right on out, look at space right there. It's such a small window on both sides of the ship, but it is such a neat little area. And wow, the sun already went down out here. That's fantastic. This is Daymar. This is the StarLancer Max. I really hope you enjoyed taking a look at this ship with me. In 4.5, I still think it's an amazing ship. And honestly, if I were to give this ship a score, it would be a 94 out of 100. Let me know what you think of the StarLancer Max down in the comments below. Is this a ship that you fly? Because if it is, how has it been doing for you? I want to hear your stories on whether or not you kept this one and you're running a Nursa combo with your cargo, or if you went to the StarLancer TAC and surrendered a lot of that cargo capability, but you are out here having fun in a StarLancer one way or another. I think this is a fantastic ship and totally worth the purchase in-game, and if you're really supporting the project outside of the game, it is a great ship. Thanks for being here. Thank you for watching. You all are truly amazing, and of course, I'll see you all in the next one. If you're building a new PC, go through longshipindustries.com, a veteran-owned mom-and-pop business that takes pride in every single build. He built my personal rig, which you can actually see featured on the website. The care, warranty, and customer support are top tier. Trust Longship Industries for your next build.